Hi everyone, I'm Molly Messery with Cash Out on My Home, and today we're going to talk about the pros and cons on selling your home on the market versus to an investor. So in this video, we'll talk about each category: preparation, on the market, during escrow, and close of escrow, what exactly it's like versus a home buyer who's going to occupy your property and an end investor who is looking to make a profit. Now let's talk about on the market and prepping to come on the market. So we all know that nowadays in 2018, the standard has definitely changed for what your home has to look like for being on the market. But nothing has changed when it comes to the basics. So the basics are cleanliness, making sure there's no pets, making sure there's no smell, and sprucing it up as much as you can. Little stuff like paint, cleaning your carpet, maybe changing a couple furnishings here and there, really small items, appliances, things that can update and make your home feel newer. So these are the keys when you're listing your home on the market that you want to go through. Now the second part is finding a really great broker or a realtor to work with you on your behalf. The key here is to find an agent who's preferably local, someone who really knows the market, knows what's selling and knows what's not selling, and someone who's gonna have a genuine conversation with you, who's gonna look you in the eye and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, your property will sell for this much. That way you have a realistic expectation of how long you guys are gonna be on the market before you actually get an offer. Now, this is all for being on the market. So what you wanna do, prepping on the market, when you're working with an agent, you wanna make sure your house is clean, you put as many updates as possible. Another great key is to stage it. And statistics have shown that staging the property can help you sell it 75% more than when it's not staged. So these are really key items that you want to take into consideration. And if budget is an issue for you, then you want to get with your broker and sit down and plan and see what's going to be the most crucial thing that you need to do to get your home ready for the market. Okay, homeowners, so let's talk about selling your home to an investor and what preparation that requires. So this process is frankly quite different. Most of the time, 99% of the time, that investor is looking to make a profit with your property, meaning that they could care less what it actually looks like. They're gonna come in and renovate and remodel the home. So the whole buying as is completely valid and accurate in this situation. So what does that look like for you? That means no painting, no repairing, no fixing that little crooked, sink or little something in your house that's been that way for years, just so a home buyer can feel comfortable. No having to take anything out of the house or off the property that you don't want. So really, when it comes to prepping to selling to an investor, you want to make sure that you've got absolutely all your valuables packed up and ready in storage or already in your new property. There's completely nothing else that you need to do when it comes to preparation to selling to an investor. Okay, so here we are, we've prepped, we're ready to come on the market. Our agent has put together a beautiful portfolio, great marketing, and we're listed. We're live. People can see us on Redfin, on Zillow, and home buyers are looking at your home. So how realistically is that gonna play out? Here's what it will look like. When you are selling your home, you're gonna absolutely wanna hold open houses. You wanna give buyers the chance to roam around your home, feel at home, walk around the neighborhood, and feel comfortable. Now the key with open houses is a couple of things, and you probably already know them. You wanna make sure that you're never in the property. You don't want to have someone come over and see the homeowner watching them, and I know you're probably harmlessly doing it, and we're all curious to see who's going to potentially buy our house, but you want to never be there. So make sure your schedule is flexible. Make sure that you're ready to round up the kids, round up the family members, and get everyone out of the house before the home buyers start to roll in. Number 2, pets. Pets also want to come with you as well, but you really want to make sure that you have cleaned and prepared for the open house. You want it to smell good, you want it to look good, you don't want any hair or any animal smell anywhere. So if you want to bake some cookies before the open house or have your realtor do it, that's another great idea. Number 3, again, is availability. You're gonna wanna make sure that during your time on the market, you're gonna wanna be available to show the home to buyers who are possibly coming out of town or only have a short notice to see the home. A lot of the times you may think it's not worth it. I'm not gonna clear my schedule for 30 minutes for them to come down here if they only have one day to see it and then they fly back to another country. However, in my experience, a lot of times those are the most serious home buyers. So you wanna make sure that you and your family is on the same page, ready to clear your schedule, ready to clean the house, ready to hold open houses pretty much every weekend until you get it sold. So now we know what it's like to be on the market when you're working with the agent or you're listing. Now let's talk about what it could potentially be like with an investor. So when an investor comes to your property, almost all the time, they only need to walk the home once or twice. They don't really need to come back and feel it around and see if it makes sense or see if they feel at home. They just need to know what the condition is, what needs to be repaired, and from there, they can go back and do their numbers. The only other time they would come back to the home is potentially to bring a more seasoned investor for a second opinion or their contractor, which is completely normal. So when you are working with an investor, during that whole time frame, they shouldn't be to the house more than 1 or 2 or 3 times just to see the condition of the property. From there, they know their numbers and they know what they're looking for. They'll present you with an offer, and that offer almost all the time is going to be really accurate and on point because they've done this before and it's completely not an emotional process for them. So the number that they give you is most likely going to be the offer that's going to stick. Let's talk about my favorite thing, escrow. And I know you probably all get the jitters when you hear that. Escrow on the market is completely different than escrow with an investor. But let's go into the details of on the market. And for this situation, let's imagine it's a smooth, ideal escrow and nothing goes wrong. So what happens when you're in escrow? You get your offer accepted, you open escrow. From there, you have a period, a physical contingency period, where that home buyer is gonna do inspections. Now there's also a loan contingency period. That is usually always extended over the physical contingency inspection period. So you've got 2 things that need to be checked off on. Make sure there's nothing that needs to be repaired that the lender won't loan on, and make sure that that loan gets fully funded. To get a loan fully funded may seem like a lot of work, but majority of the times it takes 30 days, if not more, like 21 days. What does the homeowner or the new buyer need to do when they're gonna purchase your property? They've gotta get all their documents in place, provide it to their loan provider, make sure they have all the funds in place to actually purchase your home, whether that means getting gifts and money from family or moving money in place in their own accounts. So when you're in escrow, you wanna make sure that you negotiate, if you have to, the repairs and credits that need to be done. So the lender can see that you've allowed the buyer credit to fix those issues so they can successfully loan on the property. These 2 coincide with one another. They go together. A lender will not loan on the home if there's things that need to be done that don't make it habitable or lender friendly. And we all know, depending on the loan, some lenders can be more difficult and other lenders can be more lenient. So we can usually expect escrow with all of its mishaps and problems to last anywhere from 30 to 45 days when we're working with a home buyer. You also want to make sure that everything in your contracts and all your T's and I's are crossed and dotted. You want to make sure that your agent is looking through all of the paperwork so you are completely protected throughout the entire process. You don't want to lose any money, and you don't want that home buyer to lose their deposit should it not work out. If everything goes well, you should close within 30 to 45 days. Now, I really want to point out that a home buyer can also be a cash buyer, but that still doesn't make them an investor. There's really a key critical thing here with the investor and the home buyer. The home buyer is going to live in that home for years to come, make memories. The investor won't. So both may be working with cash, but it's a very different mindset. So let's talk about escrow with an investor. You've opened escrow, the investor usually has a much shorter physical contingency inspection period. Why is that? because they know what they're looking at. They know what the repairs cost. They don't need to bring in 15 contractors and 10 inspectors to tell them what it's gonna be. Now, if you have a severely damaged property that may have hazardous issues such as mold or stuff in the soil, that may require a different inspection. But majority of the time, the investor already knows these issues when they walk the property. So they'll know what to account for in their offer. Now, they've obviously presented you with an offer that you've accepted at this point. What does that mean? That means during this escrow period, that offer should pretty much stay the same. Why is that? Because they're not going to negotiate for 20 grand off of the roof because the lender won't loan. They're not going to negotiate for you to replace the bathroom sink either. That home investor usually already has all of the repairs and expenses accounted into their offer. So when you go into escrow, you guys are solid. You don't have to worry about negotiation, and majority of the time, you don't have to worry about it falling out because you can't agree to a price during escrow. The other really benefit to working with an investor is the time frame. And this is a lot of reasons why a lot of homeowners will choose to work with an investor. Now, there's many reasons why you may, financial, time, whatever it may be, but time is crucial in that escrow process. A home investor doesn't need a loan, so closing is flexible. In really severe conditions, a home investor can perform in under 7 days. The typical time frame can be 14 to 21 to 30 days, just depending on how quickly you need to close your property and get out. Now, if you do need to stay for a little bit longer, since the investor doesn't have their money tied up in a loan and isn't having a lender fund on a certain date, that can also allow for much more flexibility during the escrow process. So if you need to look for another home, that home buyer doesn't need that certainty that you're gonna buy another home. As far as they're concerned, as long as you're set on selling this home, they don't need you to concurrently close. And a lot of the times they can release funds or even close exactly a day before you need the funds on your new home that you're concurrently closing. So these are a lot of pros to working with an investor during that escrow period. Another thing I really want to mention, and this is something I've seen in my experience, is last minute backing out or last minute issues, whether that may be with the loan or the home buyer. An investor, 99% of the time, will not back out because the loan or their cash didn't come through. It's a very much more guaranteed success rate of closing. And as far as the emotional part, hey, if they've got their numbers down, they know what the plan is, and you've agreed, you can call it a deal. We are at closing. We're closed. Congratulations, and you've successfully sold your home. So what does it look like? To be honest, and truth to be told, there's really no difference. When you're closed, you're closed. When the deed is recorded, the deed is recorded. An investor most likely will start work right away, and a homeowner may take a couple of days to move in, or even weeks or months. Who knows? But you're closed and you have your money, and your money is safe in your escrow account or your personal checking, whatever that may be. So I really hope you guys that this video was able to provide you some clear ideas of what it actually looks like of selling your home on the market versus selling to an investor. And yes, there are pros and cons to each, absolutely. And each option really, really matters on your specific situation. A lot of the times, if you have a market-ready property that some would qualify as turnkey, doesn't need a lot of repairs, is easy to show, and you're flexible, you don't have to be out of town in 2 weeks, going on the market is a really great option. You can often get the highest dollar for your home. If you have to leave in a rush, if you need your money out, if you've inherited an older property, if for whatever the reason the home is just not ready to be on the market and you don't have the time, patience, money to deal with that, then selling to a home investor can be a much more easy option for you and can really relieve a lot of stress from your life. So whether you choose to work with an agent or work with a home buyer, we hope that you'll consider us as investors and consider us as cash buyers to purchase your home. Thank you so much and best of luck.